What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Gaming Without Parole. Sitting across from me this week is Dezrah.
And sitting across from me is Bryan Paul.
Hey.
Pretty sure, yes. Okay, yes.
Yeah,
sitting across from me is Bryan Paul.
Am I wearing a green shirt? No, thank goodness. Okay. All right, that was a close call.
Do that one episode just.
Yeah, right, just
a head and hands.
Yeah, it's going to happen one of these times because I'm just totally going to forget.
Actually, my mother-in-law does work at a party store where I can get the green bodysuit.
I don't know if I want that. We decided to kind of take a different angle at Gaming Without Parole this week. Instead of talking about things we love, we're going to talk about bad games
that we love.
So it is true.
Things that you hate that we love because you're wrong.
Yeah, it's
no, you're not wrong.
And the fact is, I think most of these games got accurately reviewed.
Yes,
they are not good games, but they are games that we found something special in just enough to bring them up today.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, we're not. This isn't joking aside. This isn't saying no. Critics are wrong. These were great games that people. No, these are in general games that had pretty bad reviews or were definitely not for everyone. But we like them.
And well, in the same vein, there are a couple on my list that had to be brought up because they were so bad that I couldn't even find anything to like about them. I think they were worth noting just because of how awful they are.
Okay.
So it kind of runs the gamut on my side of things over here. Would you like to start this list of awful games?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go with a pretty much an easy one. My first console that I remember was the Atari 2600, and there was the Pac-Man for the Atari 2600, which is universally reviled as a terrible, terrible version of Pac-Man. It was slow. The graphics were clunky. They just, if you I don't know, we'll have a graphic there. It's like, look how terrible it was compared to what you played in the arcade. But it was
Batman. Pac-Man didn't even rotate or anything, right? Wasn't he always facing the same
direction? Yeah. No, it was awful. It was a terrible version of it, but it was the only version I had. I was a kid at home where I lived. Arcades weren't really a thing I could go play. So if I wanted to play Pac-Man, this was the version, and it was there in my house. So right there, I spent many, many hours playing that version, and to the point where I didn't even realize it was a bad version until I saw a real version.
Sure.
Like, oh, crap. Okay.
It was, at the point, the only home port, right?
I believe so.
It's not just the only version you had to play, just the only one available.
That was it, yeah.
So I think a lot of kids who were too young to go out to the arcades, which at that point, it was a teenage kind of place to go. You could smoke in arcades, and it was definitely like a bar atmosphere.
Yeah.
So kids under maybe 14 or 15 maybe never even saw the arcade version, only heard about it. So this was actually, as bad as it might have been, a suitable replacement.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, in my memory, one of the best games I ever played. But again, that's because I was, well, let's not do the math, but I was pretty young.
Excellent.
All right, how about you?
Well, this is one of those games that I don't think has any redeeming qualities.
Oh,
and
all right.
I'm only bringing it up because it's so bad. It's generally considered one of the worst games ever made.
Exciting.
This game came out in November of 1996 on the PlayStation 1. It's Bubsy 3D.
He brought props. That's not fair.
I did. Dez does not live here, contrary to popular belief.
No.
I have props.
Oh, right there. That is mine.
That's not yours.
It is.
It's mine.
All right, I'm fine.
Wait, if you're on, which side are you on? What are you taking from me? So Bubsy 3D. The problem is with Bubsy 3D is that it gets a bad reputation. People all the time say this destroyed the Bubsy franchise. Those people are bonkers because Bubsy wasn't good even
Bonkers was a different franchise.
Oh yeah, I had that too. Awful. But Bubsy wasn't good in 2D. Bubsy was a 2D platformer on the 16-bit Genesis, Super Nintendo. And the graphics were nice, and it kind of moved fast, but it was a total Sonic/Mario ripoff. He had the 90s attitude. He had an exclamation point on his shirt. He was and he always said stupid stuff, real, very mascot-y things to say.
If you've seen The Simpsons, he's Poochie.
Oh yeah,
he's the video game version of Poochie. They're like, we need this fresh face that's gonna be like our character. It's gonna be all edgy and 90s and sarcastic. And
this is why I invite you on the show. I would never reference Poochie ever for any reason. I would have forgotten about Poochie for all eternity.
I have a post-it note on my mirror that I look at every day when I'm shaving. Remember Poochie.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're an interesting guy.
Not really.
So I have a lot to say about this game. So I need to start with, I mean, I don't even want to talk about why the game is so bad. Controls are awful. The camera angles, the graphics are like just flat shaded polygons. Everything moves slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you can't use an analog stick. It's all D-pad. Your thumb hurts after the first level because of how hard you're pushing to get Bubsy to turn. And like you can't run and turn. You have to like basically run in a straight line, stop
and
turn, almost like changing the camera angle,
Yeah.
run in a straight line. You're missing all these objects just by inches, and like it's just so infuriating to try to play.
Now, do you think this was an issue of like the coding or just the hardware couldn't handle what they wanted it to do?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not the hardware.
It's not okay.
Because I actually took some notes.
Yeah.
Before Bubsy 3D even came out,
Mm-hmm.
Mario 64 was a thing, and so was Banjo-Kazooie. Those games were both out on Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
But on PlayStation 1, Crash Bandicoot was already out. So was Tomb Raider and Spyro the Dragon.
Okay, so no excuses there. The hardware could do it.
The hardware could totally do it. Yeah, I mean, even Nights into Dreams on Saturn, like a less powerful system.
Oh, yeah, that was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous, and it looked so much better than Bubsy 3D. In Bubsy, he just talks incessantly. He says these annoying things like, "Hey, there's a checkpoint. Thank you, game designers, for throwing in a checkpoint here." It was like, dude, your voice is annoying, and you're saying dumb stuff like breaking the fourth wall kind of stuff, which is just so generic.
Yeah, breaking the fourth wall is terrible. Should never ever refer to the imaginary space that you're in.
The music, I wrote down that it sounds like a railroad train, like a junk, 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 junk.
Oh yeah,
not even a game. It sounded worse than a Game Boy game. I've heard some great music on a Game Boy, so it sounded like a Gamecom game.
You can do. Ooh, that's
cut, right?
That is awful.
Yeah, and it did start development on the 32X. That was a strange thing I learned. And then Accolade was like, "We can't release on the 32X. That's a failing system. We need to find a system to port it to."
We need to take this brilliant game
Yeah.
and save it from the clutches of the 32X.
Now, the great thing, I need to put a picture of this, the box art. EGM has a quote on the front of the box that says, "Stunning, original, Bubsy 3D climbs back to the top. Check it out."
Okay.
So I looked it up.
Out of context, maybe?
EGM gave it a 3.25 out of 10. And then the other quote, it's a Gold X Award. Okay. From PS Extreme magazine, wrote, "One of the sleeper hits of '96, an experience that no action platformer gamer should miss." I looked it up. PlayStation Extreme magazine does not exist, and it never existed. This was a made-up quote by Accolade because they knew their game sucked.
Seriously? They completely manufactured a magazine?
They manufactured a magazine and the Gold Award.
That's beautiful. Actually, I suddenly love this game so much.
This is what I'm talking about. It's so bad that it's like bad on top of bad. How can you not love this?
Wow.
Yeah.
Establishing a new standard in the platform genre. A new standard of awfulness? Maybe.
Yeah. It says
fantastic.
It says you can run, jump, and swim, but if you jump into the water in the first level, you die.
Yeah.
Yep. There's very little to do in this game except for run around on flat platforms and die. It's awful, and I love it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what put it over. I mean, when you go for creating not just an artificial review, an artificial magazine and award,
right?
That's great.
And this is like, I mean, early days of the internet, so it's like, if you looked up PlayStation Extreme magazine, you'd never find it.
No, and even worse, you're going to have one of your friends like, I have a subscription to PlayStation Extreme. No, it's at my grandmother's house.
Yep,
she's in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, because it sounds like a magazine that exists.
Yeah,
there were like PSX was a magazine, right? Or PSM was definitely a magazine.
Right. Well, yeah, tons of magazines that were coming out with all the demo discs of all the shovelware.
The official PlayStation magazine had a CD, and so that, I mean, I had to look it up, because I thought that was a real thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you can prove that PlayStation Extreme magazine is real,
leave a comment because
we would love to see it.
Absolutely. It's your turn.
Okay. So another one I came up with. This was for the GameCube. There's a lot of love for the GameCube, but this was a game that was universally pretty poorly reviewed. Unfortunately, my notes got eaten by my dog.
Oh no!
So I don't remember the exact reviews, but it's something. It's commonly known. It was just a knockoff of a game called Crazy Taxi, which people loved. There were a lot of the driving was buggy. Did I have it? I didn't actually say the name of the game yet.
Not yet.
Okay, the name of the game is Simpsons Road Rage.
I was trying to guess it before you said it.
Oh, okay.
And I did.
You did, yes. Simpsons Road Rage. And again, it's just a knockoff of Crazy Taxi.
It's Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi. I guess it used some of the original voice cast, but really, for me, it was fun. It was glitchy as hell. You could drive, get stuck in walls, or if there was actually a certain place in Evergreen Terrace where if you got caught between a rock and a wall, that was it. You pretty much had to restart. It actually did have a little, you could hit the two shoulder buttons and it would reset the position of your car because it just kind of knew that you were going to get stuck in places.
Okay, that's fair.
But even then, there were places where you could just get stuck and that wouldn't work. But you know what? I used to work at a summer camp. We had the GameCube. We'd have staff over. We would play that. And it was a blast.
This also came out for the original Xbox and PS2. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah. It was on all the consoles at that time. But, it was just a lot of fun. I will say, as far as like balance goes, if there's something you care about, it was unbalanced. There were a couple cars that had just a crazy combination of maneuverability and acceleration that, it was... I think it was a Pooh's, what did he drive? A Corvette? Or a Corvette knockoff kind of vehicle. If you had that, you pretty much won the game.
The great thing about this game is that I think it actually proved something that I think I knew all along, is that Crazy Taxi itself, I mean, a great game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like you could adapt this to so many different licensed properties. Like,
sure.
How great is it for the first time ever to be able to drive around Springfield and be like, there's the Quickie Mart, there's the comic book store.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool part. Yeah, because there was a lot of deep cuts. Like one of my favorite things in The Simpsons.
The fire tire that was the
sprinkle tire fire was in there. But one of my favorite things is the escalator to nowhere.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's in there, and you can actually ride up it.
Come on,
if you aim things just right. And that's one of my favorite gags from The Simpsons, and it shows up in. The Simpsons Tapped Out, which we talk about some future date.
And we talked about that a little bit on the Pokemon Go episode.
Yeah, we did. And it's, so if you like the little in-jokes, those are in there.
Yep.
The voice acting is kind of the same things over and over again, but they're fun. You got Hans Moleman as a character just kind of shows up randomly you can hit and he complains. It's a lot of fun. It's not a great game. It's not a well-built game. It's not a well-designed game, but it's fun, especially if you're a Simpsons fan.
I want a Final Fantasy 15 Crazy Taxi game. Because you've seen the demos of Final Fantasy 15? It's like all of these like emo guys riding around in like with the top down, and I'm like, I want them to be like, let's get to the grocery store.
As long as they kind of have the big swords too. I don't know how that's gonna.
Yeah, where do they store those?
You don't want to know.
I do want to know.
Well,
next up, this one is hilarious.
All right.
This is a game for the Wii.
Ooh, the Wii.
Yep. This game is called Ninja Bread Man.
I've never even heard of this.
Well, my friend, check that out. So, this game began life as a 3D reimagining. Remember Zool? Z-O-O-L? He was like this weird mascot from the Commodore Amiga.
Okay.
He was on the Atari Jaguar. He was on a bunch of different systems. Maybe the Genesis, if I remember correctly. But this was supposed to be the first 3D Zool game.
Wow.
Now,
I'm guessing that fell through.
The publisher of Zool was totally unimpressed with this, and so who made this game? Data Design Interactive. They said, that's fine.
Way to go, guys.
We're going to go on, and we're going to just make this game anyway. Now,
all right, hey, you're proud of your work? That's right. Bring it to the show.
So, this is, I think, 3D character platformers might be my favorite genre of games. So
really, okay.
Oh my God, I love like Jak and Daxter.
Yeah.
And like Maximo Ghosts to Glory.
Okay.
I'm thinking about PlayStation 2 games. That was like kind of the PS1, PS2. That was like the heyday of great. Even Crash Bandicoot was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, that's a good game. Yeah.
So
we're just agreeing on everything.
Apparently, I just like Naughty Dog. That's what I'm trying to say. So there's so much to talk about with this game. And first, the controls are awful because this is a motion-controlled game. You have to swing the nunchuck to swing your sword.
Yeah.
It almost never responds.
Right.
And so that's awful. You have to take the nunchuck and shake it to make your character jump, And for a 3D character platformer,
that's important.
Very important that's responsive, and that's also not responsive.
Yeah, no, I had a Wii too, and arguably it was coding dependent on the actual stick, but the nunchuck, yeah, that was never reliable. I don't care what the game was.
The game never tells you that you can hit the Z button to jump, but you can. It doesn't say it in the manual. It doesn't say it in the tutorial.
Just guess.
It just says, move. No, the nunchuck.
It's an Easter egg, Brian.
Oh God. So this game is. Let's see. Let me just find a review here. Okay, Ninja Breadman is regarded as one of the worst games ever made for its control, camera, graphics, lack of story, and short length. I love when people complain about the entire thing, and they said, and there's not enough of it.
Well, it's like the old joke, the restaurant, the food's terrible and the portions are too small.
Yeah, absolutely. So I haven't even gotten to the greatest part of why this game's awful.
Okay.
So this game came out in, September of 2007.
Is it like explicitly racist or something?
Nope. No. September of 2007.
2007. Okay.
Yes. Also, September of 2007, Anubis II came out. That game is this game with different skins. Also on the Wii. It's the same game.
They just
leveled, apparently, just a different skin. Like, the levels look different, but it's the same level. The characters look different, same. It came out in the same month.
That's gutsy.
Also, Trixie in Toyland came out June of 2008.
Same.
Same game. And one more. So, 1 month after this and Anubis II came Rock and Roll Adventures, October of 2007. Same game.
So, that's actually not a bad strategy.
To release three games in 2 months, and then one game a following year that are identical.
Yeah, well, I mean, but think about it. It doesn't look identical enough, and I'm guessing this was probably on the low end price wise, right?
I mean, I'm assuming this had to be like $20 or $30.
Right. Okay. So the Wii's a huge breakaway hit.
Yeah.
Okay. No one was expecting it to be as big as it was.
Yep.
It takes off.
Yeah.
People want games. We got a game. All right. The first one didn't sell great. Okay, fine. Let's reskin it and try for another market. Reskin it again. Try for another one. Yeah. You don't have to put all the investment in recoding the thing. It's pretty crappy to do, but not that dumb.
I think it's only okay. First of all, I mean, if it was a good game, I'd be like, sure, that was a smart move. Well, the fact that it's a bad game, I'm concerned for like the parents of the children, because they're all kids games, right? Like Ninja Breadman, Trixie in Toyland, Rock and Roll Adventures, Anubis II, they all have like this cartoony cover.
Sure.
And so if you're a parent buying stuff for your kid, because September and October of 2007, this is like when you start buying stuff for Christmas.
Oh, sure.
How many parents buy multiple of these games?
That's why I'm saying it's brilliant from the maker's point of view,
but awful from the consumer point of view.
Oh, sure. Well, but I mean, yeah. But if these people cared about the consumer's point of view, they wouldn't have shipped such a piece of garbage in the first place.
This is true.
Yeah. So it's we made a piece of crap. We have to have some kind of return on our investment. Let's just crank out as many different versions as we can and hope that grandma doesn't know she's buying the same game 4 times.
Yeah. A year and a half later, January 23rd of 2009, Ninja Breadman 2, Blades of Fury was announced and then never heard of again. It's a real shame. 7 years later, we're still waiting for it.
I know. What if it does come out and it becomes like the breakout hit?
I'd buy it.
Yeah.
If it was like a $20 like PS4 downloadable game, I'd totally buy it.
No, I'm talking like full-on bells and whistles, like Call of Duty, just marketing campaign, Gingerbread Man.
Dude. Forget about the marketing campaign. What if it was like Ninja Breadman Call of Duty style? It was like dark and like bloody cookies and stuff. Oh, I'd be down.
We could do that.
Yes.
We could do that.
Ninja Breadman 3, God of War. You're up.
All right, you heard it here first. So if it does get released, we have some kind of, I don't know, prior claim. Sure. All right. So this is one that I will defend to the death. Well, not really the death, because it's a video game and not that important. We just lost all of our viewers, didn't we? I just said video games weren't important enough to die for.
If you check the analytics, we lost all of our viewers 20 minutes ago.
Oh, great. All right, excellent.
After the theme, they just tune in for the theme song, and then they're out.
It's a good theme song.
It is.
So this is, I think Metacritic gave it a 60 out of 100. So not one of the worst games ever.
Not bad at all.
No, not terribly bad. You could find a few reviews that said it was just a piece of junk, but there were a few reviews that agree with me. We're talking about Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law,
all right,
for the Wii. This was, I actually happened upon this in a discount bin. I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Harvey Birdman fan. I think it was one of the best things the Cartoon Network had ever done. I've got the entire series on DVD. What this is, it's basically a knockoff. It's a licensed knockoff of a previously existing game. It's kind of like the Ace Attorney.
Yeah, Phoenix Wright,
Ace Attorney. It's the same kind of gameplay. You've got a screen, you've got to find clues and all.
Oh, really?
But what makes it fantastic is it is basically equivalent of getting 4 more episodes of the show. Unlike a lot of licensed stuff where it's basically, you pay to use The Simpsons and you get to write your own, whatever garbage, and maybe get some voice actors that sound like the voice. Whenever they could, they got the original voice actors. It's the original writers from the show are writing the scripts and writing the episodes. So it is, for all intents and purposes, 4 more episodes of the show after it got canceled.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. So if you were a Harvey Birdman fan, you need to go find this somewhere and buy it and play it.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the gameplay goes, no, it's not fantastic. Okay, it's not even a very good Phoenix Wright clone. Mm-hmm. But if you're a fan of the show, like I said, it's like watching an episode. And because there's the gameplay aspect, choices you make open up different paths and different plots. So you get a little bit of replayability too.
Wow.
It's game mechanics wise, but if
it's actually surprising when you first mentioned this game to me, I just figured it was like a collection of mini games or something, but it's actually cohesive and
it's 4 complete cases, complete storylines.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really well done. But it didn't get a lot of great reviews because people who didn't care about the Harvey Birdman part just said, well, this isn't a very entertaining game to play. But if you care about the Harvey Birdman part, it's hilarious. I think the only voice actor they couldn't get was Stephen Colbert, but at that point he had gotten a little more popular with some other things he was doing.
I didn't. I was never a Harvey Birdman fan. What role did? But I'm a huge. Oh, that's gonna look funny with you walking off the green screen.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Sorry.
Dezrah's a magician. We'll fade him into obscurity.
Okay, just realized.
What part did he play? Did he play a big part in the show?
Yeah, he was Phil Ken-Seven, who is the main partner of the law firm that Harvey Birdman works for.
Okay. And
he's hilarious. The Harvey Birdman series uses a bunch of the old Hanna-Barbera characters from those. So, Birdman, obviously. Yeah. But Ken-Seven was, he was basically his secret agent, handler. He had a eye patch over his eye. Suit,
okay. I think I've seen the character before.
Yeah, you'll recognize him as soon as you see him. And he was absolutely hilarious, off the wall. It was a Stephen Colbert character. Yeah. But they have another voice actor that does a pretty good job because he actually left the series in the 3rd season anyways in reality, so they weren't going to get him back for the video game. But other than that, as far as I know, everyone else came back to play, which is phenomenal.
It's cool. I'll have to check the series out. I'll do maybe not the game, but maybe the show.
We have some DVDs for you. Yeah, I would. If you do not know the show, I would not recommend this game. It's like I said, there are a lot of flaws to the game itself. It's for fans only, but this is bad games we love.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah, well, it's the anime. I mean, that's the good part about the show is the animation style was so simple that it's very easy to make a game that looks just like the show.
I think someone's breaking in.
All right. The show may end quicker than expected.
Now, my next game. Do you recognize this?
Ooh, I will have to, yeah.
Yeah, this is a game called Sneak King. This is amazing. This is a sealed copy. I'm sure. I think there's a lot of sealed copies out there. I think this was you could buy it for $3.99 with the purchase of a Burger King value meal.
Yes, along with what is a Pocket Racer?
It was Big Bumpin'.
Okay.
And maybe Pocket Racer was the other one.
I think yeah.
There were three games, all made by Burger King and Blitz games. But Sneaking is the one I think that really went down in history as a real creepy game.
Oh yeah.
If you're too young to remember, there was a point, and I haven't seen a Burger King commercial in a long time. I'm assuming they ditched.
They've forgotten about the King.
Yeah, the King was their mascot, and he was real creepy. The mask was just this plastic mask of a exaggerated face with a crown on it. And he was just creepy. It was this king. Yeah, it's weird.
Smile. Yeah.
Yeah, and even the commercials at the time were weird. So they made 3 games, all starring the king, the Burger King mascot.
And the creepiest part about these commercials were, like, you would have, husband and wife talking about what to get to dinner for something, and it cuts to him just standing in the corner staring at them.
Yeah.
So what do? It's like the creepiest part of the creepiest mascot ever made, and make a video game out of that concept.
About him sneaking around, Sneak King around, Metal Gear Solid style.
Yep.
They even had like the same cone of visions and stuff like that. And what you were doing in this game is you're sneaking around trying to, for some reason, sneak up on hungry people and give them food. I don't know why you need to sneak up on hungry people.
Yeah, if they're hungry and you have food, it's pretty much, hey, burger?
Yeah.
Okay. No one's going to be like, hey, are you hungry? Do you want a burger? Oh, God, get away from, Yeah. I don't think sneaking up behind them is going to actually add to the exchange. No.
You do get points for being sneaky. There are 4... This just adds to the weirdness. There are 4 levels in this game. Now, if I was to maybe, I don't know, ask you what you thought the levels would be themed after...
I would guess probably different areas of a city, maybe, or maybe different parts of the restaurant.
Oh, or restaurant,
yeah. It's just, you have the front entryway, then you've got the the takeout area, and then maybe the kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe I was thinking like you'd be like outside in the Burger King parking lot. And you'd be like right. Sneaking up on people in the parking lot and giving them food, or like in a game like this, you'd figure, especially you'd think it was for kids, but I'm not really sure who it's for. Maybe a carnival level, like maybe where people are having fun,
or different Burger Kings around the world.
There you go.
Yeah,
right. But Burger King Tokyo.
Sure,
how cool would that be?
That'd be great.
No, instead we get 4 levels. We got the sawmill, the cul-de-sac, the construction zone. In downtown.
I'll take places you can find serial killers for 1,000.
That's what I'm talking about. You got a creepy ass king sneaking around
construction
the sawmill.
Cul-de-sac.
So weird.
Wow.
Yeah. So the Blitz Games team that made
places you can find bodies for 1,000.
Real weird. The Blitz game team went from 15 people to 80 people, like almost overnight.
Wow.
And as Burger King threw more money at them to make this game.
Do we know how much Burger King spent?
We don't know, but we do know that between this and the 2 other promotional games, 3.4 million copies of these games were sold, and I think 2 million of them alone were sneaking.
Wow. I do remember that the word around, and that's the only one of the 3 I've played, and at the time people were saying that was the only one worth playing.
Yeah.
So
it's not horrible.
Yeah.
It's just not special. I think what's great about it is that on this disc is the original Xbox and 360 versions. So if you hadn't upgraded yet,
that's actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
And this came out at a time like soon after the launch window where everyone who had a 360, not me, but all my friends who I played this with, they all like were bored. Like, right. I got Ridge Racer. That's it. And then so I remember going to Burger King and like getting all 3 games at the same time and like bring them back home and be like, at least it's something new to play.
Yeah.
So it was a brilliant move by Burger King. And the weird end cap to the story is that Blitz Games flew the King actor to the UK to motion capture him because they basically said, without the King's personality, this game is nothing.
Okay, so I'm going to translate that to what actually happened is, oh my God, Burger King is giving us money.
Yeah.
Like, lots of money.
Yep.
Like, anything we ask for. Who wants to go to London?
Yeah. I think there's something about that. Unless Blitz Games is from London, I don't really know. But
well, even then, it's just like, all right, we're gonna fly the King, the actor who plays the King, over here. So let's tack on like $10,000 to whatever it actually costs for expenses.
Yeah, let's just go to the bar with the King.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so. It seems like this is like the polar opposite of Harvey Birdman, where Harvey Birdman was a game that wasn't so great, but the theming and the idea sends it over the edge for me.
Yeah.
This is the opposite. Theming and idea is terrible, but the gameplay, pretty fun.
It's all right. It's all right. I think the fact that it exists is the coolest part of this at all.
That is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like we used to get like little toys in McDonald's Happy Meals, and then we get full-fledged video games.
That is pretty crazy.
For $4. This was don't forget, like Xbox Live Arcade. That was brand new at this time.
Oh, yeah.
And so for $4, you could go get a physical copy, which was cheaper than anything on the Xbox Live Arcade store.
Yep.
This was a value.
Oh, it was, absolutely. And it's, yeah, I was going to say something, I have kids now, and it blows me away, like the toys they get in their Happy Meals now. But at least, they haven't gotten video games yet, so we got that going for us.
All right, you're up.
So this one, actually, I'm gonna skip one of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip one too.
This is, again, it's rated. I think it's rated poorly only because of the games it's connected to. There's so much love for the games that this is a sequel of that. There's, it was an impossible situation. But the game I'm talking about is Deus Ex: Invisible War for the Xbox.
Yeah, I have that.
People will just dump on it, say this was a terrible game, because what they're doing is they're going back and comparing it to the original Deus Ex for the PC, which was an amazing game, way above and beyond its time. Like my brain just stopped. That happens occasionally.
Do we need to jumpstart it?
No, we're good. We just got to give me a couple seconds to reboot.
I have jumper cables and handcuffs. I don't know if that'll help.
But I mean, this game had no business being as complex and deep as it was at the time it came out.
The handcuffs got him.
So the original Deus Ex, just a masterwork. If you haven't played it, why are you listening to this? Because you're not the target audience. But go find some way to play it. I haven't played it. You haven't played it, really?
Are you gonna walk out?
Well, you're not. But you're a PC. Yeah, you're not really a PC gamer. Okay, so
no.
that's
I stopped playing PC games after The Secret of Monkey Island.
Yeah, see, for me, a little bit of history. I did, I got up to the Super Nintendo, I think, and that was the last console I bought for a long time. From there on, I switched pretty much to PC gaming until actually a few years after the original Xbox came out. I never bought an Xbox when it first came out. It was a few years after I got one. And I switched back. I was like, oh, wait, consoles aren't bad. I don't have to, reboot and reinstall everything every time I want to play. Yeah. That changed. Now consoles and PCs both have that problem. All right. Yeah. Anyways, that's completely off topic.
We're talking about I almost went down a really strange path for a second.
So Deus Ex: Invisible War was the sequel. Happened, I think, 15 years after the events of the original Deus Ex, but someone, of course, will let us know in the comments. A different protagonist who was somewhat related to the original protagonist, and it was for the Xbox. So they were kind of faced with an impossible task here. How do we get the depth and complexity of story and gameplay of this huge PC game into the Xbox, which at the time was just kind of an underpowered PC?
Right.
Microsoft didn't really want you to know that, but that's really all it was. And I just keep hitting that, don't I?
Sorry.
So it was really impossible. It was never going to have the depth of gameplay and characterization and plot. There's just not enough space on those discs to get all that story in there. Yep. But for what it was, I think they did a fantastic job. The combat was pretty smooth. The controls were pretty good. The inventory management, not great. But if you wanted to, I love the Deus Ex universe. I want some more of that story. I want to play some more. This is the only way I can get it. I think it's a good game. The purists will say, well, it's not as good as the original or even the sequel that came, Human Revolution. Wait, no, Human Revolution is
last gen, right?
The last one, yeah. Those are two very different and very complex and very dark and gritty games. This one's a little lighter tone, but it's the same universe, and I'll still play it to this day.
That was a weird era for gaming, for console gaming. I feel like when the PS2, the GameCube, and the Xbox all first came out, people, I think too many developers, Sony included, said, hey, these systems are more powerful now. We can kind of take these PC experiences and bring them over to the console side.
They weren't quite ready yet.
No, I remember the game, remember Draken, the Ancient Skate?
So I never played it, but I do know.
Yeah, it's it was a PC game. It was an open world.
Yep.
And man, they brought it to the PS2, but it was way ahead of its time, and it got horrible reviews. But I think it's like right on par with Deus Ex. It's like an amazing game that was kind of hampered by the technology of the time,
Yeah.
and by, I think, the developers having maybe over-the-top expectations for their game.
Right. Then I think like the question I asked about Bubsy is a hardware issue. I think Deus Ex, you had good developers, you had a good idea, but they just couldn't, stuff it in that little disc.
Couldn't stuff it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could go on talking about bad games forever,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna cut out one of mine.
Okay.
And I don't know which one I want to cut out. All right, I do.
I can go. I got one left. I can.
So I have a whole page of this one, so I'm going to go with this.
All right.
I had 2 lines of my other one, so I was like, I guess I did more research on this. Yeah. All right, final box
Settle
display on my side here.
Next time I'm bringing props.
When you didn't even bring your notebook. So I bought it. I didn't buy a PlayStation 2 at launch. I was broke. I was recently graduated from college, and my brother was amazing. I don't know why he did this. Because I was unemployed and just hanging out and drinking too much booze at my parents' house.
Might be why he did it.
But he said, he was like, hey, I didn't get you a college graduation gift. And I was like, is that a thing? So
it's a thing.
He's like, I'm going to buy you a PlayStation 2. And I was like, oh, awesome. Thanks.
I'm graduating soon, Brian's brother.
Don't worry, I'll buy him a PlayStation 2. So,
hey,
I might have a couple extra lying around. Would you like a Japanese one or a United States one? Multiple of each. Now, I had Tekken Tag Tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I had Zone of the Enders.
Okay.
I had almost every competent launch game there was, because soon after this, I got a job, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can buy a game every single week. And I remember seeing Orphan. Is it Scion of Sorcery?
Yeah, Scion.
I saw this on the shelf over and over and over again. I remember the Electronic Gaming Monthly review being pretty below average, and being like, boy, this is a game I will buy when I have nothing else to play.
That misspelling is getting my attention, though. Orphan.
Oh, it's the it's the way the anime is spelled.
Oh, okay.
Right. Is it Orphan? Is the actual Orphan?
As far as
child?
I know.
Yeah, I don't.
Orphan. Yeah.
I always spell it wrong when I write this down. Now I feel better about it all. So, do you want to check?
Yeah.
So I remember, because I used to go to what was in the Greendale Mall? Was it Electronics Boutique?
Yeah.
So I used to go there, and I would talk to the guys there. Like we had a pretty good rapport. They knew me, and I was like, I'm only gonna buy this game when I got nothing else to play. And one day I walked in and it was like $20, and I was like, I got nothing else to play, and I bought it. I really like this game.
Can I just? This is the script. This is the
please,
the story. They actually we want people to buy this game.
And this is
we
what
want
we
people
put on
to
the
buy
box.
into this hero.
Yeah.
We want you to read this box and say, wow, I want to play the adventures of this person. As Orphan, the powerful but lazy sorcerer.
This is true.
You've always thought being a hero was too much work. Not you were, abused as a youngster and you're fighting back for vengeance or from some noble. You weren't a hero because you were lazy.
He is lazy.
Yeah.
It's part of the story. It's a very popular anime in Japan.
Okay.
And so they brought it over here, which
that's what you're going to lead with?
Yeah. So
to an audience that doesn't know it?
Let's do a little more reading.
Yeah, okay. Oh, please do.
So I wanted to quote an IGN review. This is David Smith. Now, I've been reading IGN, since IGN was a thing. Even before that, where it was like IGN 64 or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So his review, this is a quote. As a game, Orphan could be described as sort of a train wreck, although I mean that in the nicest possible way. Panzer Dragoon Saga somehow got going on the wrong line towards Zelda 64, built up a good head of steam, ran over Lara Croft while she was desperately trying to throw the switch that might avert a terrible collision, and wham! Out of the wreckage...
Wait, how does George Michael get involved?
George Michael?
Wham?
Oh, and wham! Haha. And wham! Out of the wreckage climbs an arrogant Shylock with a penchant for tossing fireballs at people.
Did it actually say Shylock?
It really said that in a review. So,
I'm very confused now.
Yeah, I copied this verbatim, and I was very confused the whole time. But all of these things, we don't have to We don't have to hinge on the Shylock thing.
I'm just David Smith. We should talk.
Leave a comment below, David Smith. You should really justify your verbiage. It really, and because I think despite his choice of words, David Smith hit on something. This game has a total identity crisis. Because all of these different gameplay mechanics do exist in the game. It's split up between different like adventure, action, and RPG segments, where it's like you're running around the overworld and you can like attack creatures and kill them in the overworld, but then you'll go into battles in the overworld and then it turns into like an RPG battle, and I'm like, wait, what was that?
Okay.
Why do I have the ability to attack some things and then other things I have to have an actual battle for?
Right.
But like I think it would have been, if it wasn't a launch PS2 game, it probably would have been, which I assume it was in development for the PlayStation 1, then just got ported over last minute.
Right.
I think it would have been an amazing PlayStation 1 game. Like, it would have been like, oh, wow, look at all these different gameplay styles, and instead it just got like this quick port. Now... What's that?
Well, it's like I can see like the thinking behind the different like battle styles. Like, okay, you meet, because that's one thing that's annoying in RPGs is just like, okay, I just want to get to the next damn town.
Yeah.
And then you've got to stop and fight every slime, every little whatever along the way. If you had some kind of game mechanic where like, oh, you got to a certain level, you could just cruise through those battles, and then if you meet a certain experience, boom.
It's not that at all.
It's not, yeah.
No.
Well, that's where I can see like maybe they were thinking that, and then this is what came out.
Yeah, I do think that there's a certain level of, if this needs to be a launch title because that's the only way it's going to sell, let's push it out the door, ready or not.
Oh.
I think launch titles have a bad reputation for a reason, and it's because they sell because they're launch games, not because they're good games. Orphan does. I mean, when I bought this game, Orphan did not have a following in the United States. If it did, I was unaware of it. I'd never heard of it. I've heard of it more since then.
Okay.
But I was like, oh, this is great because it's got anime cutscenes. Right. And I was like, I thought to myself, I'm going to fall in love with these characters. I'm going to discover a new anime that I like by playing this $20 PlayStation 2 launch game.
I think would be the hope for the licensees.
Unfortunately, the license is the bad part of this game. The anime cutscenes, the voice acting is awful. Orphan himself is super annoying. Now,
are they taken from actual video from the episodes, or is it just new stuff made?
I don't know the answer. They are relevant to the story, but I don't know if they were just grabbed from episodes.
Gotcha.
So I go both ways on this because I expected to hate it. The reviews were bad, and I think I enjoyed every minute of this game, and
cool.
So it's just one of those that I just lucked out on.
All right. What's wrong with that?
Do you want to do one more and then we'll call it?
Yeah. I've got one more. This one's kind of... So there's the game and then there's the system are actually both part of this. Things that...
Make you go,
Things that make you go, now we owe somebody money.
Uh-oh.
No, it's a system that actually is the same thing. People love to hate on it. I really like this system. And it's a game for that system that has the same problem.
You haven't said the name of the game.
I have not, or the system. That suspense
is killing me.
And we'll see you next week.
I hope it'll last.
High five. Okay. So, anyways, the game system I'm talking about is the Nokia n-gage.
Oh,
specifically the QD.
No. All right, I'm out of here.
That's Brian's moment to leave. And the game I'm talking about is I had to write it. X-Men Legends. For some reason, I had X-Men Evolution in my head, and of course, that's actually a much later and slightly better TV show. But X-Men Legends was a sort of isometric RPG style game.
Available for the PlayStation 2.
Available for the PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox.
Yep.
So we're talking the same generation of games.
Do you think everybody knows what the n-gage is?
Well, if I had brought my prop. So it was Nokia's attempt to make a phone that played games, which at the time you can actually read reviews with people saying this is a terrible idea. No one's ever going to play games on their phone. You're so wrong. Unfortunately, so was Nokia. It was definitely they were trying to do something before the technology was quite ready. Now the original n-gage was much larger. and it had the notorious. I think they called it the taco style game.
Yep.
Because imagine, well, this is my personal cell phone now. Instead of talking like this, you actually have to hold the device out sideways.
They called it side talking.
Side talking, yes. That was actually an ad campaign. Yeah, so that one, the original n-gage, was a steaming load of crap.
Yeah.
Just not quite as bad as the Gamecom, but up there. The QD was their attempt to fix a lot of the problems, and they did. They made it smaller. It was much easier. I believe with the original n-gage, you actually had to take the battery out to change the games.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that anymore with the new one. You could just drop them in. You could hold it like a normal phone, but actually, honestly, good quality. And the games were pretty decent, I gotta say. But the damage had been done by the original n-gage. No one would even think about this next one. The X-Men Legends port was, it was a port of a game to a younger, smaller system. So same problems we had with Invisible War, we kind of had this with the n-gage. But here's where I differ with everybody. I think that I've actually played X-Men Legends for the GameCube and the n-gage.
Okay.
I think the game for the GameCube is actually worse, because playing that game on that system, you're expecting more from the game.
True.
Now the game itself isn't that great. It's got a lot of limitations, and all they've really added when you play it on the GameCube is the graphics are a little better, and you get some of the audio and all that. But if you put it on a tiny little screen like that, all those limitations, all the things that make it crappy on the GameCube, something that's pretty cool on a device. This is something I can carry around. Yeah, I'm expecting it to be a smaller game without as much, without being able to do as much.
A mobile game, you can play it in bits and pieces.
Exactly, yeah.
A couple minutes at a time.
Right, and I think because it was on the smaller system, it's a much better game. When you try to do it on the bigger systems and make it, wow, these graphics are great, but the gameplay does not stand up to those good graphics and good audio.
Yeah.
But if you shrink it down, make it a smaller, crappier game, it was great. There's another game, and this one actually doesn't really qualify for what we're doing here, but Pathway to Glory was a RTS World War II strategy game.
Also n-gage?
Also on the n-gage, only on the n-gage. It was one of the only titles that was made specifically for the n-gage, and it's a fantastic game.
Wow.
I actually still have my n-gage. I still keep the batteries and the charge around, so I can pull this game out and play it every once in a while.
That's pretty impressive.
But this was also a game that was very well reviewed as well at the time, so it doesn't really count. But
yeah. But still, n-gage.
Get
it out of the way.
I would say the n-gage specifically was something I love that people love to hate. n-gage QD, again, we're going to underline that.
Yeah.
And then X-Men Legends, I think this is an example of a game. It's actually worse. Like the bigger and better and brighter you try to make it, because the gameplay doesn't stand up to it. But you make it on a small screen, I think it's great.
I did play that on the PS2 or something, and and I didn't love it. I was like, this is supposed to be a game I should like, and I didn't like it at all. So I'm surprised. But what you're saying makes sense.
Yeah, I did the opposite. I started with it on the n-gage, and then I was like, oh, this is available for GameCube too. I'm gonna go buy it for that. And it was actually no, Xbox. I'm sorry, I got it on the Xbox, not the GameCube. And it was just, I played this game and it was a lot better before.
Dezrah, I've really enjoyed talking about bad games.
So have I.
I think we should do this again.
Okay.
Obviously, this is not a comprehensive list of the worst games of all time. This is a list of games. That's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other conversation. This is just a list of games that we wanted to talk about that probably no one else on the planet's ever talking about at any given moment. It's just we wanted to have an opportunity to talk about these games. So if you have a list of games that you think are maybe good that other people think are bad, or if you just want to highlight some of the worst games you think were ever made, leave those in the comments below, and maybe we'll get around to talking about those in a future episode. Yeah. Because like I said, I could talk about bad games all day long.
Absolutely.
It's my favorite genre.
And if you want to join me in singing the praise of the n-gage QD, leave a comment as well, because I'm alone.
Oh. I hope I can find gameplay footage of that, because I know I'm not capturing it myself. Yep.
I don't know.
No one needs to know how the hot dogs are made. For Gaming Without Parole, my name is Bryan Paul.
My name's Dezrah.
And we'll see you next week.